Now, before I get started, I'm going to start with my pre-class pep talk again. So there are 4 things that I want you to put in mind while learning tech or while gaining experience in tech. 4 basic things that you need to understand. 4 basic things that you need to understand. Now, the first is you need to understand the fundamentals. Hope everybody is listening. Everybody listening. Good. You need to understand the fundamentals. Which Joy are here? You need to understand the fundamentals. Second thing is you need to understand. You need to have an area of specialization. You understand? So first is what? Fundamentals. Second is what? An area of specialization. Then the third that you need to understand is you need to practice. You understand? You need to practice. That's very, very much important. And then the last part, which is not where you stop, but it's just like a circle, is you need to teach it. You understand? So why am I saying this thing? For you to understand JavaScript, you need to understand what? For you to understand programming, you need to understand the fundamentals of programming. For you to proceed in programming, you need to have a specific an area of specialization. So for instance, web development, right? So you're in front end, that's an area of specialization. For you to move to the next level, you need to be able to practice rather. What am I saying? Okay, I understand HTML today, I'm practicing 247. I understand CSS tomorrow, I'm practicing 247. Oh, we're into JavaScript, I'm also practicing. I'm not stopping. You understand? Because if you stop, you stop growing. That's how it is. There was a particular article I wrote recently. I said, you cannot be a developer or you cannot grow as a developer if you don't read. You understand? If you are not reading or you are not, I'm not talking about mathematics or reading, no, I'm talking about reading tech content, reading all of this tech documentation. You cannot grow if you are not invested in these things. So you need to be invested. So, and the last part is what you need to what? Teach it. Practice by building projects and teach. So you have somebody that is asking questions and you know it. I think I've seen that a lot in this particular course. So you guys answer each other on the group. That's nice. So if you know something, you teach it. That's how you learn. You understand? So I know how much I've grown in the past 1 year, 9 months that I've been here. You understand? And even before then, that I've been teaching. Yes. So the more you teach, the more you grow. That's how it is. You cannot just stop. Once you start teaching, you have to start learning. Because one thing I need to anticipate is that the people you are teaching also, they know it. Do you get? So you want to pour your hand. So best thing is what you need to learn. So and you also need to teach. So those are the 4 things that I want you to put in mind. And why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because in JavaScript, this is going to help you a lot. If you can understand the fundamentals, practice with the fundamentals, and then what teach those fundamentals, you can do anything in JavaScript. You need to understand those things. So now in JavaScript, I'm going to be talking about a lot of things. So let me just show you what I'm going to be talking about. So we'll talk about variables, right? JavaScript. We already talked about what it does in our last class, right? So today, for the next 5 weeks, we'll talk about variables, we'll talk about data types, we'll talk about operators, we'll talk about conditional statements, we'll talk about arrays, then we'll move towards functions, objects, and a lot of, okay, this is it. Good. So we'll talk about variables, we'll talk about data types, we'll talk about operators, we'll talk about concatenation, we'll talk about conditional statements, array methods, DOM manipulation, objects, methods, events, functions, loops, hoisting, asynchronous JS, and then finally talk about API. Now, this is basically what we're talking about for the next 5 weeks. Now, again, like I said, now last time I told you that JavaScript is basically 3 things. Remember, like everything about JavaScript that we'll be talking about is basically 3 things. Yeah, can you tell me? Remember, Say it now. You remember, but you cannot tell me why. Then tell me what you remember. Tell me what you remember. I'm not going to take it up. I know you have seen it. That's why I just wanted to like just remember it. But say what you just saw. Hmm? Also, no, not exactly that one. I said JavaScript. Good. No manipulation. That's first. Asynchronous with Ajax, right? Asynchronous JavaScript with XML, right? That is Ajax. Then we're not in the last class. Then the last one, which is like the basic interactivity. I said three things: interactivity, asynchronous JavaScript with XML and XML. Then the third one is what? Done manipulation. Do you understand? So please, I need your fire in this JavaScript class. It's important. You need to like be on it 247. Can't stop on it 247. That's what I want. All right. So that's that about that. So now we'll just be going on into I'm just going to talk about basic things. So setting up your environment. We've done this in our last class. Now the next thing is we need to create our first JavaScript folder. And how do you do that? The same way you've been doing your HTML. So open up your VS Code. First thing, open up your VS Code and go to your file, open up a folder. So I'm just going to go to the folder and I think I already created something. Now, of course, you need to have your HTML file, right? Then go ahead and create an app.js file. Now you can call it anything. It's just like your HTML and CSS. I'm fast. Yeah. Am I fast? Okay. Let me slow down then. Don't, you don't need CSS for this. Just JavaScript. Just JavaScript. All right. Are you done creating your folder now? Eh? I need a response. Are we done? All right. So first thing you need to do is create your HTML file, index of HTML, and I'll tell you why you're creating this. Now the next thing is you need to create your JavaScript file. And your JavaScript file extension is saved with what? JS.js. So the way you have HTML that is .html and CSS that is .css, the JavaScript is what? .js. So I'm going to call it app.js. Hey, not in capital letter. App.js. So you should have like a JavaScript logo. You have a JavaScript logo there? Yeah, JS, good. That's it. So you're gonna have app.js and then what index.html. Now, these are the two things that we'll be needing. Try between now and Friday. Just talk about just these two. Talk about these two. Now, today, I just want us to like go through it all. Now, why am I going to be using HTML? Now, one reason why you'll be using HTML is because HTML is basically everything about your web page. Like I said, your HTML is everything, like everything you see on your website is what? HTML. But then you now manipulate HTML to get certain interactions that you want with what? With JavaScript, CSS, sometimes other languages like Python. You understand? Again, I'm going to come in with this explanation. Every single thing you see on your web page is a what? Is what? HTML. It was built by HTML. Now, you probably will now see some interactions on your button, some colors on your text. That is now what manipulating your HTML with what? JavaScript and CSS. Do you understand? That's basically what. Now that is why we need HTML. So what we do with HTML is that we have to connect our JavaScript to our HTML. You understand? So you link it to your HTML, write your functionality on JavaScript, and once it's linked to HTML, what happens? Every single thing comes back on your web page, and that is why you need your HTML file. So what I need you to do is I need you to come to your body and write your script tag with the source. And in the source, you put the link to your JavaScript, which is what? App.js. So I'm going to explain it again. This is what I'm saying. So create your script tag, right? Your script tag, add your SRC attributes, that's your source attributes, right? Sorry, your source attributes, then write what? App.js. Now this is everything that you need. This is everything that you need to run. So your script tag, then your SRC file, then what? App.js. Then you can come to your JavaScript file and write your JavaScript code. Everybody here? So again, your script tag, source attributes, then your what? App.js, and then script. Hmm? Yes, that's what your script. That's what this will do. Now, alternatively, you can write your JavaScript in your HTML using your script tag, right? Then all of your JavaScript will go into the script. You understand? But if you don't want to write it here, you can just go ahead and use your SRC attribute and link it to an external JS file. You see? Okay, good question. Now, one thing about the head is that you are linking it to TSS, and that is basically styling. This one right here is interactivity. It is basically linked to the body. And another good answer is that most of the times, this is how your web page loads. It loads from top to bottom. And there's an animation, a payment system in your code. You don't want it to run. Now, this is how it works. If you put the script tag in the head now, it is going to load your CSS first and your CSS and HTML first before it gets to the body. Now, there's probably seen something whereby something probably just happened in a split second before the page loads up. That's because there's an error in configuration. Probably something was brought first before the order. You understand? That is making the functionality load up before the actual content of the web page loads. So you don't want to have that issue. First of all, you want to make sure that what your web page loads up and then what the functionality follows. So that is why your script has to be the last thing on your page, last thing in your body. That means every single thing that you'll be writing has to come before it. So even your header, your nav, everything comes before it. You understand? So your script has to be the last thing because you don't want other things to load before your functionality. All right, good. Now we'll be able to have our index of HTML, then you have the app.js. So you link script and then what? You can write your code in your app.js. But before then, let us just come here and read through some of these things. Now, writing your first JavaScript program. Now, okay, good afternoon, good morning. So I think this is just a waste of time. So I'm just going to introduce you to the browser console. Now, before you start writing code, you need to understand one thing, which is your browser console. Now, the browser console is an indispensable tool for any JavaScript developer. What am I saying? It serves as a window into the inner workings of your code, allowing you to inspect variables, test code snippets, and identify errors in real time. Now, all of these things is sounding new. Of course, it is normal. But you understand this as you go ahead in your JavaScript journey. Now, I showed you your console in our last class. Did I? Didn't I? I showed you your console in our last class. How do you get to your console? Who wants to try? Try. Are you sure it's 3 dots? How do I get to inspect? Right click, good, and go to inspect, good. Then how do I get my console, right? Good. This is how you get your console. Now, as you can see, you are seeing some error messages here. That's why they said what? Console is good for majorly handling and identifying errors in real time. So you can identify errors, solve these errors, you understand, in your code. So your console will help you know the error, basically. So I'm going to explain error handling also in JavaScript. That's even one thing that you need to know. In JavaScript, you need to understand error handling. It's very important. So I'm going to be giving you some real-time explanation of your JavaScript. So now let us just go ahead. Now I think everybody understands how to open up their console now. So we'll move on to what? Variables and data types. So let us move on to variables and data types. Now, yeah. Please ask the question again. It will not be relevant. It's not. I won't be teaching if it's not relevant. You understand? I won't be explaining it if it's not relevant. Now, like I said, console is for error handling. So use it in debugging and use it in checking out your code, checking out the variables, seeing if things are actually right in your code. You get. So that's one thing about your console. Now, Chrome has built-in JavaScript console for you. So you can easily, in fact, it's not even just JavaScript. It has all languages, almost all languages that I know of. So you can use the console to check your errors, print out error messages to your console, and then easily you can know where to solve your bug. Yeah, I can't. I'm not the one that created the website. Eh? They probably, if they did not sort it out, shouldn't be using their website. There is no way you will build applications. You will probably still get taken errors. Probably errors, version error. There's sometimes that I don't want to go into some higher stuff, but sometimes that you're probably building on Node 14 or Node 15. Right now we have Node 20. I think it's 18 or 19. Sorry, 18 or 19. You have like the latest Node version. Now you probably get errors on your console that oh, you actually built on previous versions of Node. You need to upgrade. That's an error, but it does not mean that your site will not work. You understand? And the errors that I was seeing here was probably Grammarly, so it was not. It's not really error pertaining to the website. Check. So as you can see, not supported in what in Grammarly. Grammarly is not part of this website. I use Grammarly for um, um what's the name? For articles to write a Grammarly extension here. So can you see AI writing? So this is the error that you're seeing, not exactly the error pertaining to this website. And there's another error here, script execution. Now this is from them, you understand? But it does not mean that what the website is not going to work. You get it's probably like a runtime error that is not pertaining to this. You will know your own error. Trust me, you will know your own error. So when you get there, you understand your own errors. All right, now we will be going into JavaScript, and I'll be explaining certain things today. I'll be explaining these three today, basically. So we'll talk about variables, talk about data types, talk about operators in today's class. What do we mean by data variables? I hope everybody's here now. What do we mean by variables? These things are very important. Like I said, if you don't get the fundamentals, you cannot understand it. It's important. Now, what are variables? Let me give you the definition first. So variables are fundamental building blocks in JavaScript. They act as containers for storing data values that your program can use and manipulate. Now, understanding how to declare and use variables is crucial for writing any JavaScript code beyond the simplest hello world program. You understand? Now, basically what it's saying is that variables are the fundamentals, the most basic of things that you need to understand before you start writing code in JavaScript. And what do? They act as what? Containers, storage. Do you understand? So, for instance, you have a bag now, right? A laptop bag. So people are like, okay, this particular bag, I don't put any other thing there apart from my laptop. Now, if anybody comes there and they say, okay, what bag is this? What will you call it? Your laptop bag. Meaning that every time you go there, you will always need your laptop. That's a storage for what? Laptop. Do you understand it now? That is exactly what variables are. Variables are what? Containers for storing data values that your programs can use and what? Manipulate. Now that's basically what variables are. Wait, let me check one. Now that's basically what variables are. Now, how do you write your variables? We'll get there. Now, declaring a variable means what? Creating a named storage location, i.e. your bag. So your bag is a variable. Then you cannot name your bag something. You can name your bag laptop bag. And then you cannot store laptop in the what? In the laptop bag. So what's the variable? Bag. What's the name of the variable? Laptop bag. And what's the laptop bag story? Laptop. Those are the three things that you need to understand. First of all, you need to understand what the variable, which is what? The bag. You need to understand the variable name, which is your laptop bag. And you need to understand the value, which is the story, which is the laptop. These are the three things I need to understand while declaring variables. Now, how do you declare variables? You declare variables using three variable keywords. The first variable keyword is what? Your var. The second variable keyword is your let. And the last one is your const. Now, these are the three ways to declare your variables. The first is what? Var. Second is what? Let. And the third is your const. Now, let's say you want to like print out my name to the console, right? You want to store my name to the value of what? First name or the value of full name. You understand? Let us try it. I can say var full name equals to what? Paul. Paul device. Sorry, that was a mistake. Paul device. Now, what have I just done? What's the variable right here? What's the variable here? What's the variable here? What's the variable name? Then what is the value? You understand it now. Now that is how it works. So you have your variable name, which is your full name, and then the value that is storing, which is what for device. So if I come here and I say console.log, I'm printing it out my console, and I say full name, right? I can come right here and I can open up my HTML. And I can go to my console, inspect, and go to my console. And then you should see what for device logged out of the console. You understand? Again, when I explain it, so in app.js, you have what? Var, which is what? Full name, then you have what? For device. Now, when I checked out what's the name? Full name, in the console, what do you have? Polybyte, right? That means what? I stored Polybyte. I stored full name. Come, you understand it? Wait, let me explain it finish. Now, you have what? For full name, you understand? And I stored Polybyte to the value of what? Full name. So when I reference full name, what do I have? Do you understand it now? Is it clear? That's it. That's what variable does. So it's just like saying that I have var, right? And I store a laptop bag, close to laptop. Do you understand? Now, if I reference laptop bag here, what do I have? What would I have? Laptop. Do you understand it now? Meaning that what the name of laptop bag is now what? Laptop. So anywhere I reference laptop bag in my code, what am I saying? Laptop. Now, this is the basic thing that you need to understand in programming. Variables. They are very important because you will need them because you only want to reference things over and over and over and over and over again. You only want to use them. There's sometimes that you have a lot of things under one variable. So once you reference that one variable, it can affect your code in a very, very tremendous way. I use tremendous. It can affect your code in a very strange way. You understand? So you need to understand the basics of what of variables. Again, what are variables? Variables are used in what? Storing values. You understand? Use variables in what? In storing values. So you can store values in variables and access them later. I hope it's clear to everyone. Is it clear to you? Is it clear to everybody now? Is it clear? I need answers. Not just from two people, from everybody. Is it clear to you? Mr. Is it clear? All right, good. So that is basically what variables are. Again, variables are used in storing data. Now, I said you have three major keywords. Let me just come here. You have how many keywords? You have three keywords. The first is what? You have var, right? You have let, and then you have what? Const. Now I need to explain. All of them basically do the same thing. All of them basically do the same thing. You understand? But they have slight differences. Just very slight differences. Now, the first one, which is var, was like the only way used in what? In declaring variables. You understand? That was the only way you declare variables that time. So, I told you that JavaScript was first known as what? Remember the name of JavaScript? Java. Eh? Java. Okay. JavaScript was never known as Java. LiveScript, right? Good. Then it was later changed to JavaScript because of the popularity of what? Of Java. Now, when they created JavaScript, the only variable name that you can use, the only variable you can use in declaring variable name is what? Var. Then later, they introduced what? ES6, which was ECMAScript. And when that ECMAScript came into existence. Eh? Okay? Yeah, I know. Listen, I said yeah. That they changed the name from JavaScript to ECMAScript. I said yeah. 2009. Good. 2009. They changed the name to what? ECMAScript in 2009. Now, in the recent ECMAScript, which is ECMAScript 6, which was developed in 2015, they introduced what? Let. You understand? And const. Now, let and const is basically like a modernized version of what? Of variables. Now they have two different things. Let replace what? Var. Var, no, they don't like use var. Var is what? Outdated. So what they use now is what? Let. Then const is now like a particular variable name that offers more control and clarity over variable scope and what? And mutability. I will explain what that means. Now, what am I saying? What I'm saying is, let me just delete this so you understand everything. So what I'm saying is, in this lesson, we will not be using var. You understand? We will not be touching var. But what are we going to be touching? Let and const. Now, the first one, which is let, say let full name equals to what? 4. You understand? Now, if I go ahead and I check out my console and I say console.log, full name, what am I going to have? I'm going to have what? Paul Levy as my full name. So if I check out my console now, what do I have? You understand it now? Now that exactly is how it works. That is how let works. Now, let is just a normal variable name that isn't as strict as const. Now, what are the differences between let and const? Const is known as constant. Constant in the sense that you cannot redeclare names. It's not possible. You cannot redeclare variable names. It's not possible. Now, let me show you what I'm trying to say. I can still come here and I can say full name equals to what? John Doe. Right? Now, let me check this out and let us see what we have. What is it? Meaning that what? The full name is no longer what? Paul. Do you understand it now? But let me show you what const is going to do. So if I say const first name equals to Paul, then I console out first name. What's it going to show? Paul, right? Good. So showing Paul, isn't it? Now let us check something out. Let me just speak. All right, good. So this is it. Okay, I don't think I need this. I don't need this one. All right. So all right, good. Now we have what? 4, right? Good. So now let us check something out again. So we have now we have 4 const. Now let me declare first name. So if I say first name, right, equals to what? John. Now what am I going to have? First of all, I'm going to have an error. And what is the error? Error is saying what? Assignment to constant variable. Meaning that first name is constant and it is constant to the value of what? Paul. If you try to redeclare first name and give it another value, what is it going to tell you? An error. Assignment to what? Constant. That means you cannot redeclare a variable with what's constant. But you can redeclare a variable with what? Let. Is it clear to you now? Now, you might not be asking which one is the best to use. Now, it depends on what you are building. And it depends on what you are doing at that moment. Most of the times, it is best to use const. Why? You don't want certain things to change. You don't want to redeclare something. You just want to have a strict value to it. Now, sometimes it is advisable to use let in the sense that you probably want to change certain things. So, for instance, someone's name might change later, right? So let's say you have probably gotten someone's, probably this is not the best way, but let me just use that as an example. You've probably gotten someone's user input, username and password. They probably want to change it. You understand? That is not supposed to be constant because it might probably change. You might probably want to reset first password. You understand? So that's like a let variable. Do you understand it now? So you can probably what? Change it. Do you get? Now, that's just an example. It does not necessarily mean that you have to change it to let. You can still use const and redeclare names. But I'm just trying to tell you that what let is saying that you can allow variables change. Const is saying that variables can change. Now, the reason why I'm saying that it does not mean is because JavaScript is much more than just what? Variables, right? You can do different things in different ways, which we'll get to. Now, but with this few points of mine, I hope you understand what let is and what const is, and the differences between what let and const. Is it clear to you? Constant is kind of permanent. Yes. Is it clear? Is it clear to you? let and var. Now, let and var are actually the same thing. I call them the same thing. But the only difference is that var is outdated, first of all. Second of all, is that var will probably change your Windows property. So what am I saying? So if I go ahead and I say console.log Windows, it will show you an object now. Oh, there's an error here. So I'm going to show you an object. Good. Windows. So if you go ahead and check certain things here, can you see name right here? Now, if I try something and I say var name, because what? For Levy. Have you, can you see something here? Name was supposed to be what? Empty. But can you see that name is filled up now? That's one reason why you don't use var. Now, one thing about var again is that, and if you check, if I try to like, I've removed it, isn't it? But it's still there. So the Windows property of this particular element, particular application has what? Tamper. Now, it is not advisable to use var right now. And when we get to global and local scope, you understand why let is better than var. You understand? You understand why you use let more than use var. Now, in JavaScript, you also get to oyster, and that is one way where you understand the differences between what let and var. But for now, we're going to be using let more than we are going to be using var. I hope everybody understands it up to this point. Is it clear? So I'm going to stop recording now, and I'm going to give you time to write this code and catch up with the class.